Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, From Cradle to Career, the transition for all students begins in preschool, sponsored by Defined Learning. Before we begin the webinar, I'll review just a few quick housekeeping items. We will be accepting questions throughout the webinar, but we'll hold them until the Q&A session at the end of the presentation. You can go ahead and send in your questions as they come up for you by using the questions feature in your control panel. You'll see a little Q&A icon that you can click on and send in your questions. As I said, we'll put them in the queue and have them ready to be answered at the end of the webinar. If you experience any technical difficulties during the presentation, please use that same questions feature to get my attention, and I'll do my best to resolve the problem for you. We will be sharing a recording of the webinar and the presentation slides with you after the presentation. So keep an eye on your email for details on how to access those materials. We'll be sending that out later this afternoon or first thing tomorrow. Now let's get started. I'm pleased to welcome Dr. Genevra Walters, Superintendent of Kankakee School District 111 in Illinois. Dr. Walters is also co-author of What Works for Special Education and At-Risk Learners, a framework for general education teachers and administrators. Dr. Walters' vision is to develop an educational system that creates opportunities for all children to be valued, contributing citizens in a fast-changing global society. She is committed to the growth and development of lifelong learners. And we are very excited to hear what Dr. Walters has to share with us today. So I'm going to go ahead and hand the presentation over to her.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Today I want to talk a little bit about our journey here in Kankakee to move our struggling students to be more successful students. I want to start by explaining who I am as an educator. I actually grew up in this community. I left and returned to the community. My background is school social work. I went into the educational system knowing that that the systems didn't always work for those struggling students, for those students that are high poverty, for minority students, for students that had disabilities. And so I wanted to connect the community to the school by becoming a school social worker. As years went on, I went into administration, again, because of the systems and that we didn't have systems that supported the struggling student. I was a very good student and actually was in honors classes, but I even recognized as a child that the system did not always lend itself to success for students that were not high-functioning students, were high minority or minority students, or were students from poverty. So today I'm hoping that my presentation will show you the importance of leadership and preparing students. And when I talk about students, I mean all students for a global economy. I want to talk about why career development should start in preschool, specifically for those students that are struggling students. And I want to talk about how superintendents can move from a vision to actual practice. So as I talk about our journey, I want to describe how we created a pipeline from cradle to careers. I want to look at our systems, the systems that existed before I became the superintendent and what we put in place to solve some of our problems. I want to talk about what we do with our students in order to, first of all, those students that stay in our community because they're not successful, they don't go on to college and they stay in our community. We want to strengthen their skills so that they can be productive adults within our community. And a byproduct of that is that we want to create a system where students that do go off to college have a desire to return and come back into our community. So our vision for our district is to develop a district that creates an educational system that provides opportunity for all of our children to be valued, contributing citizens in a fast-changing global economy. Now we had to figure out how we go from that vision to practice. How do we go from vision to student growth? Basically, how do we go from the boardroom to the classroom in terms of what we see as our vision for our district? And to take this a step further, how do we make sure that we have instructional strategies and assessment systems that connects our children to this global society that we're talking about? So I'll talk a little bit about Kankakee. These are the demographics. We have approximately 5,300 students. A little less than half of our students are African American. A little over a quarter of our students are Latino American. We still have a number of our students, 23% of our students are Caucasian American. And then we just have a small multiracial population. You can see our attendance rate is not extremely high, it's not extremely low. We have 15% student mobility rate. We have a high poverty rate, 86%. 11% of our students are English language learners. We have 12% of our students who are disabled, and then we do have a small homeless population. The strength of our district and the reason that we are able to maintain a small percentage of students that are not of poverty and then a number of students that are not necessarily minority is that we have a really strong magnet system. We've had this system for 30 years. And so our system includes a Montessori magnet. We have a fine arts magnet, a science magnet, a math magnet, technology, and we just recently added a dual language magnet. Our system also, our school district also has gifted education starting in 3rd grade and ending in 6th grade. Those students go into honors classes, both at the high school and the junior high school. We also had advanced placement classes, grades 9 through 12, and then we have our general education classes, which we now call College Career Academy classes, and I'll talk a little bit about that. In spite of our strong magnet system and our strong gifted education, less than 50% of our students, grades 2nd through 9th grade, were meeting expectations on our local assessment. Now, this is information, I was actually named the superintendent in February 2014. So all of this information is information I gathered within the first 6 to 9 months of being named superintendent. I actually began the superintendency May 2014. 10 out of our 11 schools fell under 50% of our students meeting exceeding on our state testing. Our graduation rate was 74% at that time. It actually has dropped just a little bit. Our college ready percentage was 19%. It has actually increased a little. One of our major issues is that our Kankakee Economic Alliance actually had a meeting and expressed concerns around 3 of our high schools in the county, Kankakee being one of them, and Kankakee being named as one of the districts that they had the most concerns. The Kankakee Economic Alliance had concerns that if we were not successful in terms of preparing our students for careers in the community, that they were going to lose the industries that they currently had. And so they felt that the economy, which is true, is closely aligned to the success of the high school. And so they actually hired someone to take over or actually look at what the high schools were doing and to make sure that we were actually successful and could increase our graduation rate. This actually bothered some political figures in the community because this discussion did not occur with the school district or with the local politicians. There was also a very negative perception of the community, from the community with the school district. And then we also had low expectations for our students, along with a significant achievement gap. This is our local assessment. We use Ames Web. If you look at our data, what we found after coming into the district and really looking at our gen ed classes versus our magnet and our gifted is that 98% of our students in our gifted classroom were doing well on our local assessment and reading fluency. You can see that that's the same in all of the other areas, academic areas. These are our magnet students. And again, we talked about having a really strong magnet program. Our magnet students, 62% of our students are doing well on our local assessment that are enrolled in the magnet program. You can see our gen ed students, 38% reading fluency. You can see there's a significant difference in the performance of our students that were in non-magnet and non-gifted classes versus our students that were in magnet classes. Now, what I will tell you about our magnet classes is that there's the students' actual ability, their IQ, their ability to do the work, there is no difference. The difference between magnet and the so-called gen ed classes, we changed that name, is the student support at home. So these students are students that may not have the same level of support. The parents may not understand the educational system and what kind of supports need to be at home in order for those students to be successful. So that's the major difference between those groups of students. Because of the difference between the performance of our students that are non-magnet and non-gifted, and the performance of our students that are in the magnet and gifted classes, we decided to start college career academy classes. So in May 2014, when I first became the superintendent, I had this piece of paper. So if you look at this screen, imagine it being a piece of paper with scribble all over it. The goal, my primary goal was to change the mindset of those parents and the students that are in the College Career Academy classes, and also the teachers of the College Career Academy classes, which were formerly our Gen Ed classes. I wanted to take those students and create a program around those students that were a program that actually focused on the needs of those students. So it needed to increase the rigor of the instruction in the classroom. It needed to help them to understand that what they were learning directly connects to careers in the United States, in Illinois, and specifically careers that we have right here in our community. So I took the career wheel and I assigned each grade level, each Gen Ed classroom or grade level to a career strand. So when you look, you see that our kindergarten students are assigned to human services and education. Our first grade students assigned to agriculture, food, and natural resources. Our second grade students, health sciences. Third grade, business marketing and management. Fourth grade, arts, AV, technology, and communication. And I took, in my mind, the most kind of controversial or difficult. When I say controversial, some of our students don't understand it. They don't know what it means to them. It's controversial in the sense that these are the careers that are in our community that are not filled. I assigned that to the fifth grade student. A College Career Academy student in the sixth grade will take an inventory and will determine which career strand is most suited for them based on their interest, and will start to specifically study the careers in that career strand. And so again, imagine this being a piece of paper that I scribbled on and handed to my assistant superintendent of curriculum instruction and said, I want to change Gen Ed classrooms to College Career Academy classes, and this is what I need them to do. I need them to learn about careers. I need their reading instruction, science and social studies instruction, their math instruction to directly connect to jobs within these strands. By sixth grade, I want them to be able to explore a specific career strand and then to look at that career strand through junior high. At the high school level, one of our goals, and we're not there yet at the high school, is that we're going to change our high school to academy. So we have a freshman academy currently. We also have a business academy and a medical academy. We want to add a STEM or a STEAM academy and a leadership academy. But again, the goal is that our current College Career Academy students will explore these careers through their sixth grade year, junior high, and then they have a freshman academy where they will further explore all of the career strands. Then by 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, they will specifically choose an academy where they further explore a specific career. When I decided that we need to do something different with those students that are in our College Career, now called College Career Academy classes, I did not know that there was actually a national push to really focus on cradle to career, a kind of the concept of cradle to career. And then there was specifically a push to look at African American students and make sure that there's support for them to go on to college, to increase the employment rate, and then of course the number of African American teachers. So there is not only an initiative here locally, but I realize that it's directly connected to President Obama's White House initiative on educational excellence for African Americans. The other thing that I learned as I was exploring our options of restructuring our Gen Ed classes is that many students are going on to college and they're not necessarily, they're going to college, they're choosing the career path that they think that they're interested in. They have these large student loans and they're not necessarily getting jobs that will help supply the amount of funding needed to pay their student loans. And this is, we did go on, when I say we, my assistant superintendent of curriculum and I went to a more affluent district that was actually exploring the same kind of issues. And what they were finding is that many of their students did go on to college, but they weren't successful in finding a career after college. So many of those students return back to their families' homes, and sometimes with large student debt. So one of the things that we did in response to the Kankakee Economic Alliance expressing concerns that we're not successful in preparing our students for careers, and in response to the lack of connection between what students are learning and their opportunity as adults, the community, the Kankakee Economic Alliance, created the Coalition for Hope and Excellence in Education, and we call that CHE. The CHE board consists of our local community college, our local university, which is Olivet Nazarene University, our two local hospitals, St. Mary's, Provena St. Mary's and Riverside Health, and many of our industries. We have Dow, we have BASF, so we have a number of manufacturing industries in our community. What we found through our support and participation in this coalition is that we have 3,000 jobs in our county that are unfilled, which is interesting because I've lived in this county all of my life, and I did not realize that there were 3,000 jobs gone unfilled in our community. There are a couple of concerns that our industry had around the students that we were graduating. First of all, the first concern is that we weren't graduating enough students. The second concern was that even the students that we graduated, they lacked social skills. So they had their degree, they applied for jobs, they may or may not get through the interview process based on their social skills. And even if they did get through an interview process, they didn't come to work on time, they didn't work well with others. There are a number of issues they had with social skills. The other issue that they had was that they needed to be drug-free, which is not a major concern. We do have a number of students that are drug-free, but many of those students lack social skills. And they also had to be crime-free, which again, not a significant concern. We do have a number of students that don't have felonies, but those students also lack social skills. And so the Coalition for Hope and Excellence in Education created a system where we meet on a monthly basis. We talk with the local industries and the employers in the community about what their expectations are, what skills are needed for the jobs that are in the community, and then we backwards plan what they need in the industry, in employment, what we can do the student senior year, all the way back to kindergarten. So we're really marketing the fact that we have all of these jobs in the community. This is the education that's required to obtain these jobs, both the education for our parents, marketing it to our parents and to our students, and preparing a group of students from high school into employment in these jobs. And what's really nice about these jobs is these jobs actually will prepare students for higher level jobs, for example, in engineering. So based on the issues that we have in our community, the number of jobs that are available and have gone unfilled, our poor performance in terms of our local and state assessment, we decided that we really needed to look at changing what happens in the classroom. So we created, again, I mentioned it before, the College Career Academy classes. One of our major initiatives as a district is to increase student engagement. I actually chose this focus for the district because of teachers' concerns that we're always having new initiatives. So they're constantly saying, well, here's a new initiative, it'll be gone soon. We have this new reading series, we won't use it for more than 3 or 4 years, it'll be gone soon. I chose student engagement, first of all, because we use the Danielson model here in the district. And that is one of the areas of Danielson is the 3C, student engagement. Also, in my years as a superintendent, I found that if you increase student engagement, you'll see a direct correlation with an increase in student performance. And the main reason I chose student engagement is every time we put something in place, we explain how it ties into student engagement. So when I changed the gen ed classes to College Career Academy classes, I explained that it increases student engagement in the classroom and also helps connect students to careers. We added reading series and math series. I explained that it's to increase student engagement. We'll have more current curriculum, and it ties into preparing students for adulthood. We decided to work with defined learning, which clearly increases student engagement. So again, I have this one focus, student engagement, all of these multiple initiatives that fall under student engagement, and yet the teachers are not overwhelmed because I can connect it to one initiative, which is increasing student engagement. The other thing that we're really focusing on is infusing technology into instruction. We have a number of parents and community members that are concerned about the use of technology, and they want their students to have more traditional education, where we're educating the community and the parents around the importance of, in a 21st century education, students have to be connected to technology. We're also explaining that the students, it's not a foreign thing to them. Technology is a part of their life. They're actually, the digital native. They're connected, physically connected to technology. I have a 9-year-old son, and he does not even understand what a blackboard or a chalkboard is. Like that's a concept that is foreign to him. He understands smartphones. He understands the computer extremely well, iPads. I mean, he understands technology. He does not understand a traditional education. And I'm trying to get my more veteran staff members and my older parents to understand that this is something that we have to do in our classroom. We also want to have a more project-based learning environment with real-life application. And in order to do that, we had to find some kind of a system of putting this into the classroom quickly. We wanted a standard-based curriculum and instruction. We wanted to make sure that we had measurable outcomes. And one of the most important components of what needed to happen is that we needed to connect what happens into the classroom to future employment. So as we're developing the concept for change, again, we talked about infusing technology into instruction. We needed to make sure that we were really increasing the rigor and restructuring and reforming our general education classes, which are, as of this year, College Career Academy classes. We need to make sure that we have measurable outcomes, standard-based curriculum and instruction, real-life application, student engagement, alignment with skills needed for employment, and specifically employment within our local community. We wanted project-based learning. And we found that partnering with defined learning actually gives us all of these things that we needed in order to launch our College Career Academy classes. So this is what defined learning does for us. And it says DS, defined STEM is what we were calling it initially. I like to call it defined learning because one of the things that I think is important for people to understand, this isn't just about careers in STEM. I mean, it's not, these activities or these projects that the teachers are engaged in can align with reading or English language arts is what we're focusing on. It aligns with all the content areas and all of the career strands. It aligns with cross-curricular standards. There are rubrics that are ready to use for the teachers. There are videos of real-life professionals in STEM careers. It requires collaboration and project-based learning. And I just want to go back to some of the concerns that our industry had, our local employers. The concern was that our students were not able to work in teams. They were not able to actually work with others in the workplace. And so we're creating projects that actually increases those social skills. One of the things that I really like is that the advisor is Jay McTighe, and that it's a flexible implementation model. One of the things that I always have a concern about when I partner with someone is that they will have a product and they will bring the product to me and then they will try to fit what I want to do into their product. Well, Defined Learning didn't do that. Defined Learning actually took, go back to that career wheel, that piece of paper with a scribble on it, They took that piece of paper with a scribble on it and actually created a program where if you were to go to our website, you could actually, our staff can click into the website, our own website, go into the staff section, go down to defined STEM, and can actually click and they will see exactly what you're seeing now on your screen. They will actually see the career wheel and will be able to click into the career wheel and go directly into the information that they need to start their project. Now, the next thing that you'll see is a video. There may be some problems hearing exactly what some of my teachers are saying, but what I really want you to pay attention to is what the students are doing. So even though the audio may be not loud enough on your end, just pay attention to what the students are doing. The one thing I want to explain before you see this video is that this video, we introduced Defined Learning in August. So we had a one-day training with our College Career Academy, with all of our teachers, but specifically our College Career Academy teachers. So just one day of training. In September, we decided that we wanted to participate in a conference. It's a statewide conference called Large Unit District Association, and present what we were doing with our College Career Academy. So between September and the actual presentation date, the second week in October, we sent out our technology staff and said, just find teachers that are using Defined Learning and take a video so that we can put a video together. So during our presentations about our College Career Academy program, we can actually show a video of what our students are doing. So I just want you to keep in mind that these are teachers that were given one day of training and said, go forth and do your best. And so within a month of school, this is what they were able to produce.
There's a huge push for STEM in our district. We have a whole set of classes that we're thinking about adding. They're all STEM based.
Because we're a science mag that we're preparing for the next generation of science standards, and this is a great way for students to access areas that they've never been exposed to before. Here's what we're going to do right now.
One of the things we learned about the Defined STEM is it's a problem-based way of learning science, technology, using engineering and math. You have a problem in front of you, you have to figure out. You do the research, you report out on it, and it seems to grab the attention of students better when you do it that way.
The Defined STEM, the way they have projects set up, has helped to kind of springboard whatever learning is going to be taking place. So we watch the video to kind of gain interest and give them an idea what they're doing for the project, and then we are using the different reading opportunities within that program and some of the project ideas that they've given us. So it's been a good way of making units cohesive and to get students interested really right away. We're working on the magnet project, and we kind of springboarded from that, and right now we're doing the science portion. So they talked about magnetism, they talked about friction. Today's a friction experiment. They're creating a slide, and they're testing different objects on the slide to see which ones go the furthest or the fastest, and again, depending on how much friction each object has.
Have one person pull the video up on their Chromebook and watch it together. You're then going to make a comment about the video onto the Google Classroom, okay?
One of the things I really like about Defined STEM, different than other programs, is the documents you can not only just download, you can edit, you can change it so it specifically meets the needs that you want to class.
Your objective is to use what you know about Newton's 3 laws on the mark. Get set, go!
You can get in class, you can work in class, you can work at home. They're computer-based, so students are not only learning about the science, the technology, and the engineering and math, but they're also learning how to use computers.
Kids are all on programs, and they're normally not like that. When they're looking at them with both, they're tired of looking at it. It's hard to get them to concentrate. Whereas with a computer, there's
Because our students are very visual. If they don't understand it in a concrete way yet, they have to be able to see it so that it comes to life.
That's part of the problem with putting STEM into place, is that you don't have the resources, and it's really time-consuming and difficult to find them. So having something in place that gets that overall concept together for you definitely helps it make it more doable for teachers.
Slowly pull back on the bottom and let's observe what's happening.
I think STEM is exciting. The jobs are
point out a couple of things. One is keep in mind that that they had a month. These teachers had a month, a limited exposure. All they did was start to look at the product, figure out how it worked for them, and then they were able to use it. The other thing that I want to point out is that we chose defined learning because we wanted to create something for our struggling students. What we found is that by focusing on the needs of our struggling students, our magnet classes, our gifted classes just took it and ran with it. But we also found that our College Career Academy classes took off and ran with it. So one of the things that I think that we've done in the past as a district and as a community is that we've really focused on our higher performing students and our students that had a lot more support at home, and then try to figure out what we're going to do with those other students. This time, coming in as a superintendent and really having more of a need to support struggling students, I created a system that supports our struggling students and found that that system was just as successful with our higher performing students. And so we created a program that supports all of our students. So here's a picture of the career wheel. So I'm going to go forward just a second. So you have this career wheel that, again, used to be a piece of paper, and now it's become live. You click on our website, you go into Define STEM, and this comes up. When you click on 4th grade, you will come up with the career wheel, the customization that was made for our 4th grade. And so you'll see for our 4th graders, they're focusing on business, finance, and hospitality. So here's the career cluster. Here are the possible career pathways. So you have an insurance services, travel and tourism here. You have business analysis. You have administrative and information support. So all of the possible career pathways in business, finance, hospitality, and tourism are there for our 4th grade students. And then you have a specific career that our students can explore under these 3 pathways. We have the same for each grade level. You click into 1st grade and you'll get that same career pathway that you saw earlier. When you go on and you click further, you'll have your career clusters. So here you have your task aligned to the cluster. So you're going to be a civil engineer, you're working on water treatment, or are you going to be a wildlife biologist, or are you going to be an astronomer? And here's the performance task. So am I going to be a library architect? And if so, I'll click there, and then I'll find the performance tasks that are associated with that library architect. So you'll have your big ideas, you'll have your essential questions. And what I really like is that we use the GRASP model when we work with Define STEM. So we have our goal. Your goal is to design a functional library to meet the needs of Chelsea's population. We have our role, we have our audience, situation, and our product. And you would just click here, and I can't do that here, but you could click here. You'll have your goal, go to the role, the audience, situation, and product, and that's how we get GRASP. So in conclusion, we wanted to create a system that supported all of our students, but specifically those students that have struggled in the classroom. The difference between our magnet students, as I stated earlier, and our college, now called College Career Academy classes, is the amount of support at home. So since they're probably not going to have the same opportunities as they have in a classroom, in a home of a parent that chose magnet, because magnet is a choice that the parents have to be aware of to go through the process of selecting a magnet program, we need to make sure that we expose them in a school setting. When we partnered with Define Learning, I was actually surprised. I thought that this was going to be a 3-year process. So I came up with the idea July 2014 and gave it to my assistant superintendent of curriculum. I told her that this school year, 15-16, we would actually start calling it College Career Academy, not necessarily expecting it to be where I want it to be, but at least to start changing the mindset of the community, of our teachers and of our students. And then we would start working on the curriculum. I saw it as being maybe a 3 to 4, maybe even a 5-year process to have strong support from kindergarten all the way through 6th grade. You know, we're currently working on our junior high and high school, and our preschool teachers. We have a Head Start program and a preschool program. They've just taken off with just exploring all the career strands, just in play and in the activities that they do. So again, thinking this would be a 3 to 5 year process, I'm actually surprised that not only was it not a 3 to 5 year process, we have strengthened the project and the engagement in our College Career Academy classes. Our Ames Web data for all of our students, we're seeing an increase in our data in both reading and math. The other thing that's very interesting that we've found is in our kindergarten enrollment for Magnet, our enrollment has gone down. And we actually think that that's partly due to talking about what we're doing with our College Career Academy classes, kind of reframing the mindset of the community around College Career Academy. And I've been talking a lot about, you know, what it looks like, you know, what the students will be doing, how this will help students choose a career path before they even get into junior high. Of course, they can change the path, but at least they'll have an idea of what they want to do. And what we think has happened is we've never had to market Magnet. It's been around for 30 years. Those parents that are knowledgeable, they already know about the Magnet system, but we have been marketing College Career Academy in order to change everyone's mindset. We think that the College Career Academy has now become a more desirable path, academic path for some of our families. And so now that is actually a problem right now, because now we have 82 openings in our College Career Academy, in our Magnet classes due to families choosing to be in College Career Academy. And I think it's directly related to the activities that the College Career Academy classes are required to do under the career strand and through defined learning. So again, you know, our goal is to make sure that we have an educational system that supports all of our students so that they can be successful adults in a global economy. You know, I like this quote from Nelson Mandela because I know it's a cliche to say education is the key to opportunity, but I do believe it is. But I think that as educators and as leaders in education, it's our responsibility to help support that and make it possible for those students that don't have as much support at home to know what's out there as an adult, both locally, statewide, and nationally in terms of their opportunities in a career. Thank you. I don't know if I have any questions.
You do have some questions. Thank you very much for sharing all of this and giving us a peek inside what's happening in your school district. It's really fascinating and I think has provided some great ideas to lots of people. So as I said, we do have some questions, so we'll just dive right into those. For those of you who may not asked a question yet, there is a little icon on your toolbar that says Q&A, and if you click on that, you can type your question in and it will come straight to me, and we'll get it out there for Dr. Walters to answer. All right, so our first question actually was, have you had feedback from students about the Academy and this change kind of in how you're running your instruction, and what's that feedback been?
You know, it's interesting, the students are not responding to the change in the name, but what they're responding to is the opportunity to move around in the class, to have activities where they have hands-on engagement. You know, we had a local school district come and observe one of our buildings to see what they're doing in the classroom, and the students can talk about their learning. They can talk more about their objectives. When I was hired to be the superintendent, one of the things that they did was they walked me around each building. So within a day, I went to each building and observed the classroom. What I saw in the classrooms are very compliant students that were sitting in their desks and they were paying attention to the teachers. If I were to ask a student what they were learning, some could tell me and some couldn't. What we're finding now when we walk into the classrooms and we talk to our students, and these are kindergarten through 6th grade students, they're able to tell me what they're supposed to learn in the classroom, you know, what the projects that they're learning, how it connects to some specific career. They're able to tell me what they want to be when they grow up. and of course it changes constantly, especially when they're younger. But they're actually engaged in their own learning, and they know what their goals are. And what's really interesting is the students actually understand their local assessment data, which I did not find that to be the case 2 years ago when I was hired. They did not understand how they were doing on the local assessment. Now the students actually say, I'm in this area and I need to get here, and I'm working on that through the project and through my homework and my reading skills.
Great. Well, that's really good to hear that kind of change in their understanding of what they're learning has happened, which I know was part of the, the purpose of instituting the academy. This is kind of a tactical question. In the school with the academy, are they one-to-one or are they sharing computers? How is that working?
Okay, so one of our goals, we have 5,300 students. So one of our goals is to move to one-to-one. We're not there yet. So the schools that have, all of our elementary schools at this time have College Career Academy classes, kindergarten through third grade. Next year, we will have our kindergarten and first grade in one elementary building with a magnet program, for example, our science magnet. The next elementary building will have second grade only with our dual language magnet. Then another elementary building will have third grade only with our technology magnet. And then we have a dual language academy for our ELL students. And we also have a math magnet. So that's how our elementary schools are spread out. So our College Career Academy classes are starting next year. They're going to be put together by grade level. All of our kindergarten and first grade students have iPads. And so for those that are not one-to-one, each classroom within the last year, we've bought iPad stations for each classroom. For our older students, and this doesn't apply to kindergarten through sixth grade, but all of our junior high students are one-to-one as of this school year. Next year, we will go to all of our kindergarten and first graders having iPads, and all of our second graders having one-to-one. We're using Chromebooks, one-to-one Chromebooks, and our sixth graders having one-to-one Chromebooks. So all of the students have access, but some are one-to-one, and some I would say are probably like 5-to-1. So it's kind of a process of getting to the one-to-one, just completely because of the cost.
Yeah, that's definitely a process, but it sounds like you've got a good plan in place and are moving ahead and managing with the scenario that you have. So this is a great question. This person is wondering how you incorporate the arts into the STEM instruction.
Well, it's interesting. Our fine arts magnet actually took to Fine Learning, and I can't tell you what specific project they used, but they took a project that came out of Defined Learning around a career strand, and then they modified the project a little bit to align with their fine arts. So they had someone draw, something around that career. They had a group of students that acted out this same project, but they did some acting. And then they had some that created a video around this same career. So what they did differently is they didn't do the project exactly how it was described. They modified it to align with the art that they were focusing on. And this was second grade fine arts magnet.
Okay, that was a great example. So this, we had a couple questions along this line. Do you think that there is any sort of danger or harm in having students choose a career path so young?
Well, I think that the danger is if parents and adults try to lock them into that career. And I have a fourth grade student here. He's in the Montessori magnet, and he wants to be a police officer. And so I talk about all the, he could be an FBI agent, and I talk about all of the careers that are in the kind of criminal field. But I don't expect him, in high school to choose the same career. So I want him to explore other careers. It's really no different than a student saying they want to be an engineer. They go to college, they explore it for their freshman year and their sophomore year, and then by their junior year, when they're actually into the classes that are focusing on engineering, they change their major. So I don't see that as being significantly different as long as the adults are supporting the fact that they're exploring a career. They don't necessarily have to be locked into that career. I think
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
the most important thing that we're doing is that we're increasing the academic skills and the social skills of our students, and we're exposing them to careers that they would have never been exposed to in our traditional setting.
Yeah, I think this is just another way for the children to explore and find out what is available to them and find out what their passion is going to be. So I think that's a good way to do it. How long do students typically work on these projects?
It depends on the project, but we've required that if you implement the project from beginning to end, it may take a few weeks. I mean, because you're not going to work on the project from the beginning of the day to the end of the day. So we are requiring our College Career Academy classes to have a project per quarter, but in order to be successful, you could go to maybe 5 or 6 projects a year. So it usually I'd say it takes at least a week to complete a project, depending on how the teachers design the project, but you could probably spread out a project to about 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay.
From beginning to end.
Great. You mentioned earlier in the presentation that some of the older teachers and parents didn't necessarily see the need for technology or understand how it was all going to work. And this person is just wondering, what's the reaction been since you launched the program?
You know, it's interesting you should ask that question. There's been a major change in the perception of the adults around technology, mostly because of the differences in the students' local assessment scores and the differences in the behaviors in the classroom. So for our younger students, because that's where the College Career Academy change was focused on, there has been a major change in the number of referrals that we think is directly related to the increase in engagement. And there has been an increase in their scores on our AIMS web testing. So the concerns about the increase in technology, when we initially launched the concept that we're going one-to-one, is very different now that they've experienced more students having access to technology. I think that what I'm seeing now from many of the parents and from our more veteran teachers is just the fear of what that means in terms of what they're doing. So I have parents that don't know what to do with the junior high students that are bringing home the Chromebooks. They don't know how to help them because they're using Chromebooks rather than paper pencil. And then I have a number of teachers that are really nervous because the instruction that you provide when you have students taking their Chromebooks from class to class and taking home is very different than a traditional instructional environment. So I think the fear has shifted from it's not going to be successful and it's not best for students to what does that mean for me?
Yeah, that makes sense. And you're still real early in this transition, though it sounds like you've made a lot of progress. So people are still getting their arms around it and getting comfortable, which is true whether it's technology or any other change we go through.
Yeah.
What are your future plans for the Academy now that you're up and running?
Well, our goal is the Academy is K through 6. So I have not had an opportunity to really go into the 6th grade classroom and kind of assess what they're doing with the differences in the students, because at this point they're actually exploring their own particular interests. So I have not had an opportunity to go and see what they're doing. I do know that they have career days. I mean, I know in general what they're doing in the classroom, but I need to look further into actually how they're implementing, because what we need to do now is to move to the junior high and make sure that the students are taking what they've learned in 6th grade about their passion and about their interests and incorporating it into the instruction at the junior high level. The other thing that we're doing at the high school level is we're strengthening our freshman academy so that, you know, in a sense, to answer one of the other questions, the students at the freshman level again get to explore all the career strands. Now they'll have their specific career strands in a few years, because again, this is the first year for 6th grade. So in 2 years, actually it'll be 3 school years, those 6th graders will come in with an idea of what they're passionate about. But again, their freshman year, they'll continue to explore the other career strands. Then their sophomore year, within the next 3 years, we hope to actually have academies where, based on what they've learned through 6th grade, junior high, and their freshman year, they'll choose an academy and further explore a specific career that they're interested in. One of the things that we are doing with our academy at the high school is that we're making sure that it's more like a college setting where they are taking classes across the academy. So we have a STEM academy and a leadership academy and a medical academy, a student and a business technology academy, eventually. We have business technology now and medical, but we want to have all four of those, and possibly either a standalone fine arts academy or a STEAM academy rather than STEM. If I'm a student in the Fine Arts Academy, if we decide to go a standalone Fine Arts Academy, I can still take classes in the STEM Academy or in the Medical Academy. So that's how we're designing the high school. So those high school students also will participate in defined learning activities based on their career interests and based on their academy. And then we're preparing them for specific either college or career opportunities after they graduate from high school. That we're working on building. And we're thinking that in 3 years, we'll be able to transform the high school from the traditional high school, which is what we have now, to a high school that has all academy model.
That sounds really great, and we'll have to circle back in a couple years to see how things are going as those students transition into high school, because they'll certainly be entering with a really different mindset, which is great. And that actually somewhat leads into this next question. This is actually the last question that has come in. We do have time for more, so if anyone out there has another question, feel free to send it in. If not, we'll make this one our last one. When we're doing the planning for the academy, you've talked about how some of your test scores have gone up, engagement has gone up, behavior incidents have decreased. Are you also going to be looking at graduation rates and enrollment in college or career programs?
Yes, absolutely. One of our concerns, when we look at our current data, starting around the 5th grade through junior high and high school, again, because this is our first year implementing student engagement, well, it's the second year for student engagement, it's the first year for College Career Academy. Our scores as the students are older, current scores, are still, actually they're not going down, they're staying pretty much the same from year to year. So what we're hoping is that as the students transition to the higher grade levels, that we'll see a significant increase in our scores. So I'm going to repeat the question just to make sure I'm answering it completely.
Basically, they're wanting to know, are you going to use graduation rates and enrollment in college as a measure of success? Is that something you're going to be looking at?
Well, we will look at graduation rate because, of course, one of the things that the Kankakee Economic Alliance is concerned with, and also we're concerned with, is graduation rate. But I also want to say that one of the things that I made very clear to the high school is that we don't want to just graduate students and then that's it, because that really doesn't help them, especially with the current economy and the competition for even those jobs that high school only students used to have. So we want to make sure that they're not just graduating with a diploma, but they're graduating with a certain set of skill sets. So what we want to do is we want to create a career counseling area in our high school, and we'll have an opportunity to do that because within the next 3 years, we're also able to put about $15 to $17 million into our high school, and that we're calling the Student Success Center. That area that's working on college career opportunities will be available to students 2 years after they graduate. So we won't just track graduation rate. That'll be one data set that we'll look at. We'll also track job employment, like immediate employment after high school, with enrollment in the local community college and enrollment in the university. Because many of the jobs that are in our local community, they only require a high school diploma, and which is actually a surprise to me. I didn't realize that. But then once they get into the manufacturing job, then there's a lot of training that is involved once they get there. And so we want to track all of it, employment and entrance into a technical field or a college career or the military.
Great. We did have one other question pop in, and I think we've got just enough time to get it out to you. So basically this question is asking how you are going to focus on skill sets that meet the needs of employers 10 or 15 years from now. How will you address the need for transferable skills that make students competitive for the next 15 years?
You know, what I'm really hoping, and she has just been in existence since I was named superintendent. So it's been exactly 2 years, and actually in name, it's only been 6 to 9 months. So what I'm hoping is that we always have this organization called CHI. So I'm doing my best to support the continued existence of CHI because I feel like if we're meeting on a monthly basis with CHI, which consists of all of our major employers locally, then we're always assessing, you know, the changes in the needs in the community and the changes in the skill sets that are needed for employment. The other thing that we always do is we always look at our state and national data because, of course, our local needs may be different from if a student goes off to, you know, another part of the country. So we're always doing that. But I think that the focus that we've had in the last year is on the jobs that are in our local community and those skill sets that are needed for those jobs. And just one more comment, what we found in working with Defined Learning and going to other areas in our state is that the needs are actually very similar. So I think that she will serve our statewide employment needs if we can continue to maintain it over the next 20 or 30 years. And then I think we'll just have to kind of have a system in place in our instructional programs department that looks at other national needs.
Great. Well, I think that was a great place to stop, looking towards the future. So thank you so much, Dr. Walters, for taking the time to do this today. Again, you shared a lot of great information and I think probably provided some good ideas for folks to take back to their districts. I'd also like to thank Defined Learning for sponsoring today's webinar. As you saw from Dr. Walters' presentation, Defined Learning is the leading provider of performance tasks, literacy tasks, constructed responses, and real-world video resources for K-12 teachers and students. You can learn more about their programs at www.definedlearning.com. So thanks for everyone for joining us today. As a final reminder, just keep an eye on your inbox for a link to the presentation deck and to the recording. Feel free to share the recording with your colleagues throughout the district or across the nation. You're welcome to share that. So thanks again and have a great afternoon, everyone.
Thank you.